Morning. Right now, we're joined by Connie Shaw from the Free Speech Union. Connie, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike.
Good to see you. We're here to talk about an amazing story from Scotland, actually, which has been going around for a little while. It's Reform Councillor Claire Mackey-Brown getting herself apparently into hot water by saying she was born and bred in Falkirk. Have a look at this.
People don't want answers about the local white boy who's done this that you are unaware of.
Because it's not known. If I don't know about it, how am I supposed to have an opinion on it or be able to ask questions? I don't have an answer to that. I'm trying my hardest to bring community cohesion. I've been overwhelmed with the contacts I've had from people within Falkirk. And, you know, there is a true unrest and it's scary. It's scary as a local resident, somebody who's born and bred here. I shouldn't have said that.
Well, do you see why this is? People sometimes think that Reform are very much against having people here.
It just came out.
That's unfortunate for you, I guess, but ultimately, do you see why people who aren't from here, who have maybe made their home here, are annoyed when they hear an elected official say that people are born and bred here?
Yeah, well, like people from Northern Ireland maybe have come to Falkirk to work for the BBC. I mean, why is she even embarrassed by saying that? I shouldn't have said that.
Well, we live in a culture of self-censorship, and her almost wanting to retract it, saying she wished she hadn't said it, it's almost foreboding about the fact she was then reported to the police. And obviously we don't know by who, but it seems to be a cultural thing now where if you see someone or hear someone say something that you don't like, that people think that they have the right to report them to the police. Now, the police have been very quick and said that there's no criminality to be found here, but it seems as though the police actually looked into it. You know, as soon as they see something like that, you know that there's no criminality. It was similar with Deborah Anderson. The fact that the police officers had to go to her house, even though they knew that she hadn't broken the law, because otherwise she would have been arrested. They had seen on social media, Deborah Anderson, by the way, the American citizen who had the police officer come to her house.
The one who was suffering from cancer. And when they went there, they said to her, you haven't broken the law. It's like, well, why are you here then?
Yes, exactly. So it's why the police even have to say there's no criminality. Well, we all knew that. But it's just outrageous. And, you know, the FSU were on standby for Claire in case she needed to take any legal action, and we're still there supporting her just in case anything else happens. But yeah, absolutely outrageous. It's another case of people not being able to talk about facts.
Well, it became a thing, didn't it, on social media, people saying, I was born and bred here. You know, it's just sort of people started reacting to it. Because I think the insidious bit about it as well is that people can complain to the police anonymously. So you never get to find out who it is that's complained, even if you're the subject of an investigation. And you have no right, apparently, to ask who's complained. Is that right?
Yeah, well, sometimes you never hear who the complainant was. I don't know whether, you know, they have to protect the anonymity of some people in these cases. But that's certainly the case. I mean, look at when Graham Linehan was arrested. I mean, he had a suspicion straight away who had reported him. But you're not told upon arrest or when the police come to your house who it is. Sometimes you don't even get told what the comment was. The same with Deborah Anderson. She never knew what it... We still don't know what it was that the police had seen on social media for them to come to her house. They've now claimed that they accidentally deleted the record of it. So it's this extraordinary culture within the police, and it seems to have corrupted all of our institutions. It's
very weird, isn't it? And it's as you say, and it may well be that the police are smart enough not to go ahead and proceed with it, but that depends on the sort of the good offices of the police,
and
doesn't it?
Whether it has a large social media attention to it as well. The police were very quick to come out on social media and say that no criminality had been found, but of course we have 30 people a day being arrested for just 2 speech offences, so the actual number is probably much higher. That's just two offences under our laws, and we don't hear about all of them in the press. I think lots of people think that some of our cases at the FSU, you only hear about them because they're so rare and so shocking that they get into the press. No, absolutely not. We don't. Most of these cases we never hear about.
No, of course. I mean, we remember when we were talking first of all about the Bell Hotel in Epping, and it turned out that in Essex, something like you know, at least one, sometimes 1.5 people, I know that's just a weird statistic, are getting questioned and getting arrested by the police over hate speech. You know, and that's going on every single day.
Yes, I know, it's outrageous, and hopefully there will be a reckoning coming soon for the police, because we cannot continue like this. You know, it used to be that you can't talk about, you know, the reality of biological sex, and it's very quickly shifted to talking about the reality of the makeup in the UK. I mean, look at the reaction to Robert Jenrick talking about the lack of integration when he went to Birmingham. And this other story about this Reform head teacher.
Yeah, what's this one about?
This head teacher who supports Reform, the local Labour Party in the area, saying saying that she's a safeguarding risk to the school, which is insane. I mean, it's this cultural thing of reporting people for political opinions you don't like seems to have corrupted the Labour Party, our own government. Look at David Lammy calling Reform and Nigel Farage basically Nazis for being somehow associated with Hitler Youth, and it's the same thing with how low do they have to stoop? It's just simply outrageous.
And it has a corrosive effect on society. We saw that young leader of the council in Nuneaton getting attacked at the weekend. Nigel Farage says as a direct result of some of the speech rhetoric from Labour Party conference, from what Keir Starmer said, from what David Lammy said about reform. People get crazed.
It's also a really weird tactic because we've already seen, straight after David Lammy made those comments, Reform surged in the polls once again. The more you try and shut people down for their perfectly legitimate concerns and opinions, the more those people want to hold them because they're not even trying to hide it, the way they're going for people for having different views to them. They know that reform is a threat. I mean, look, the whole of the Labour Party conference was about Nigel Farage. The more that they talk people down and shame them for being fans of a political threat to Labour, then the more they want to do that. It's just such a weird tactic. Why would you want to do that? I mean, look at Kemi Badenoch. She didn't even really mention Nigel Farage. She didn't really mention reform in the way that Labour did. And she did excellently. No one expected it. It was astonishing how amazing that speech was. And journalists couldn't believe it. It works when you don't talk about these people, and that's just the political side of it. But I don't understand why people think that continuing to shame people for liking reform or for not being Labour or the hard left will do anything in their own favour.
Yeah, I think a part of it, though, is that they're slightly, getting desperate because they don't know how to stop the popularity. So they're lashing out and doing anything they can, whether it's complaining to the police or whether it's, shouting in the street, whether it's throwing bricks through windows. They don't know how to stop them because they don't understand why people like them.
It's incredible how, you're right, they don't understand why people like them. And it's incredible how they can't understand it. Just take a look at yourself, Keir Starmer. Just listen to people, and it's only been just over a year, and it's just been such a disaster. But their tactic is not to improve themselves, but then they accuse Nigel Farage from going across the pond and talking the country down. If you raise any issues with the country, which there are many, that something needs to happen in the way that this country is being run, whether it's immigration or the economy or anything else, and you get shamed for telling tales on the UK. What are we meant to do? Just be quiet?
Well, it's ridiculous because Keir Starmer spent his entire time as leader of the opposition, in his words, talking down Britain, which wasn't talking down Britain. It was just being critical of the Tory government. If you're being critical of the government, it's not talking down the country, and you can't start making those kind of, assimiles. It doesn't work, and people see right through it. But there we are. Thankfully, the police haven't investigated, or they have, and they've decided not to do anything about this woman. But, the worst thing as well is for her to say, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Well, why not?
I know, and then for the journalist to then say, do you understand now why people are uncomfortable with reform being here? It's just extraordinary. It's just the hammering is from all sides. And if the institutions in this country, particularly journalists, don't start listening to people's actual concerns, then this is just going to continue. The very people who want to stop this are making it worse from themselves.
But the journalists all come out the same box now. That's the problem. They all come from these little privileged backgrounds. They think that they know best, and that's not their job to do anything other than report the news. They shouldn't be giving their view of whether or not somebody is a suitable candidate for election. That's my job. I get to do that. Anyway, Connie, good to see you. Connie Shaw from the Free Speech Union, a fine organisation, constantly fighting the good fight for people who find themselves in these ludicrous situations.